F major added second chord. My name is Miles. I am your host this week and every week for the rest of the year. We're getting to know each other. Well, you're getting to know me. I have no idea who you are. I'm not sure that you exist. I have a vague idea that you exist, but I have no idea that you exist. More to the point, I was talking with a dear friend of mine today, a good friend, and I was talking about such and such a thing. I forget exactly what it was, but I was talking about I had accomplished some goal that I had been trying to accomplish for some time. And I said, yeah, I did it, and now I can go worry about something else. That was more or less a phrase I used, and he says to me, you know, Miles, it seems to me like you worry about everything. I'm paraphrasing. Like every time things come up, you're always worrying about them. That's just your way of dealing with the world. And I was like, I guess it is. And it caused me a great strain and a great distress, and I did fall to the biting of nails and the sweating of the arm. No, I didn't do that. I was like, I guess so. And I keep thinking about that. I thought about it particularly hard when I found myself earlier this evening lying on the floor, as I do occasionally, thinking about all the things I had to do. And it occurred to me that this is exactly what my friend was talking about. I was beset by worry. A good friend is the sort of person who will tell you things that you don't know about yourself. A good friend pays attention to the aspects of yourself that you ignore. The sort of things that you've normalized. And it's good to have friends like those. I have a handful, and they are among the best people in my life. I'm glad to have them. Even if I find myself at times confronting myself in, that sort of way where you read the fantasy novel and the protagonist has to fight his own shadow, sword to sword, in order to ascend the tower, rescue the princess, kill the dragon, and become king of the pilgrims. Whatever it is that the fantasy person is doing. It's been a long time since I read The Travels of Del Toro or whatever. What was Del Toro Quest? That was Del Toro Quest. God, that takes me back. I remember reading those books on car trips when I was really young. I worry. I don't think it's like a thing, I think it's just a pattern of behavior and not like... I worry about things. I don't think it's like something you can diagnose. It might be, but I doubt that it is because it doesn't really affect my life. It just, the way I look at things worrisomely. And there's nothing really dangerous about that to me. Because eventually, my dad says, the dread is worse than the deed. And eventually I just screw my nerve to the sticking place and I go through whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. But up till that point, there's a great deal of hemming and hawing and just thinking. Sometimes it depends on the thing that I'm trying to do. I find myself thinking about this task and then not doing it. But because I'm thinking about it and because I'm not doing it, I'm thinking about not doing it, and all of a sudden the task grows in magnitude. It grows in size and in breadth. And I find myself confronted with something much more dangerous and much more terrifying than what I had originally found myself confronted with. So I put it off again, and the dread grows, and the deed remains more or less what it would have been, but my approach to it has to change, and I realize that it just becomes harder for me to get through this wall of worry that I have constructed, and get to business. But of course I eventually get to business and I do whatever it is I have to do. And it's never as bad as I think it is. It's usually worse for me putting it off, but it's never as bad as I think it's going to be. I forget that. It's only recently that I've come to recognize this is a pattern of my behavior. And it was a little frustrating. Not least because, well, how long have I been doing it? And I can't keep doing it. It's good that I caught it when I did. While I'm still in college. Imagine if I had gone all the way through in my adult life, I found myself putting off my taxes. That would be terrible. Or like pulling out on a loan or something. Whatever it is that adults do these days. I haven't been reading the newspaper. I get breaking news alerts on my phone and I worry about them. Such are the times we live in. But when you get down and you think about it, it's not just the dread is worse than the deed thing. That's part of it, but I know that's not all of it. It's not a satisfying answer to the inquiry, as it were. And because I like to prepare for things. Who doesn't like to prepare for things? Preparation is trading on the market now at a 16-to-1 ratio with cure. It's great. But, there's so much of it. You drink too much Robitussin, you sort of drift off and you get high and eventually you go into a coma or something. I don't drink Robitussin, so I don't know how drugs work. The point is that there's too much of a good thing. And every so often preparation and diligence becomes worry. That's how it is with me. In preparation, no one's going to tell you preparation is a bad thing. Diligence, no one's going to tell you diligence is a bad thing. There's moderation. Obviously, this episode isn't funny. This is just me talking about myself to myself, but also recording it. It's a strange experience. I find myself worrying that now I'm just boring you. But that's illegitimate worry, isn't it? That all 3 or 4 of you, now that I'm not telling jokes, are like, oh, this is terribly, unimpeachably dull. But hey, that is what it is. There's nothing I can do about that except talk about something else, but this is what I'm talking about. Because this is the most fascinating. I cannot but be interested in myself. I cannot help but be interested in my own behaviors and my own patterns. And that's not something I should worry about. Of course, I'm the most interesting thing in my own life. It sounds arrogant to say it like that, but that's how it is. You have to accept these things. I don't know. This isn't really going anywhere. This isn't one of the podcast has a punchline. This is just me being grateful that I have people in my life who can cause me to introspect, such as this. This is just me being grateful that I have people in my life who can cause me to examine myself in this fashion. You have to have people like that. Anyway, I think I'm just going to leave that there. Good talk. I'll see you next week. I might review the new Geotic record. I was excited about it. I might not. I might do that the week after. Who knows? Who cares? It hasn't happened yet. I'm not worrying about it too much right now. Yet.